Good afternoon. I'm Patrice Sulton. I'm with an organization called DC Justice Lab that works on criminal justice reform in Washington, D.C. And this afternoon, I have the privilege of being in community and conversation with the Honorable Eleanor Holmes Norton. And although she needs no introduction in this building, I will just say by way of welcoming her here that for the last 3 decades, she has been unyielding in her commitment to full citizenship for the residents of the District of Columbia, and we thank her so much for her work and for being here with us today. Please help me welcome Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton. All right. Thank you for being here. I think a lot of people visiting Washington, D.C. are surprised to learn that we do not yet have a safe, regulated, taxable, recreational marijuana marketplace here, even though the people of the District of Columbia have wanted one for almost 10 years now. Could you explain to us how that's possible and perhaps how that compares to the fight you're waging on the Hill this week?
Well, the anti-home rule Harris rider prevents the district from spending its own local funds on commercializing adult use marijuana. To my disappointment, it has been included in the President Biden's budget requests. When the House was controlled by Democrats, I was able to get it removed from the House and Senate bills, but Republicans threatened to filibuster final spending bills that removed any existing riders. Harris originally tried to block DC's Initiative 71, which legalized recreational marijuana. However, I found a loophole in the rider's language, and that initiative remains law. Therefore, as a result, possession of 2 ounces of marijuana is legal in the district, but the Harris rider continues to block DC from taking steps to commercialize and regulate, that's what we want to do, the sale of recreational marijuana. The Harris rider likely did not impact the disapproval resolution that was enacted overturning DC's criminal code. That just happened. Although its anti-home rule sentiment and purpose are analogous. As you know, DC's revised criminal code was recently nullified, just happened, through a disapproval resolution. That was the first disapproval resolution since 1991.
Can you say more about this anti-home rule sentiment? We've seen some themes emerge in Congress's interference with DC's ability to control its own local affairs. Many of them have to do with public health, many of them have to do with public safety, many of them have to do with racial justice, and when we talk about cannabis, we're talking about all 3 of those things. Have you noticed those patterns? Can you help us understand why Congress interferes with DC?
Yes, as you know, the majority of the district's residents are Black and brown. Race has long played a role in Congress's interfering with local DC affairs. The impact on public safety we see in congressional interference, for example, with the marijuana rider, DC is unable to regulate the adult use marijuana market in DC. Most recently, we see it by the overturning of the revised criminal code. In 2007, I was able to remove a dangerous appropriation rider that prohibited DC from spending its local funds on needle exchange programs. That was critical to the district. That rider led to the district having the highest HIV/AIDS rate, or at least one of the highest in the country. The number of newly designated HIV cases attributed to injection drug use has enormously decreased from 150 cases in 2007 to just 2 cases in 2019.
Those are really interesting numbers. I've seen time and time again DC being an outlier when we look at where we're placed in national affairs, and this congressional interference appears to be playing a role when we are outside of the norms of what other people are able to do at the state level. Can you help us understand why people outside the District of Columbia should be concerned about the Harris rider and other efforts to interfere with DC's local control?
Oh, people should really care because of emerging interference seen in states such as Texas and Missouri, and I can name a few others. We just saw the Tennessee legislature attempt to expel 3 representatives regarding the DC Congress. We are unique. Congress could completely abolish the Home Rule Act and the DC Council with simple legislation. That's all that would be needed. And some members have recently, just in a few months, suggested doing so.
I know that our time is short. Is there anything that you would want to share with this audience about what they can do to support this hands-off DC movement?
Well, there are examples of DC paving the way for reforms in other jurisdictions. DC is often used as a model jurisdiction. Groups like to say they have gotten their policies adopted in the nation's capital. On the other hand, they can use the nation's capital to overturn policies. The disapproval of DC resolutions adversely impacts DC's narrative and public opinion nationally. It is possible that disapproval resolutions have served to inform the country of DC's disenfranchised policy, so we're grateful for that.
Is there anything else you want to share in closing before we wrap up?
What?
Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up? I know that went
Not at
so
all.
fast. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.